We're looking now at P2, part of Unit 15. This is all about prototyping. Learners are required to explain the benefits of developing a game prototype considering the criteria. And we're going to look through the criteria and have a look at the different sorts of prototypes and the benefits of using them. We're going to look at two types of prototypes, the working and the non-working, and how they test the notion of player interest, the skill level required, how hard the game is to play, how easy the interface is to use, and how easy it is to understand the gameplay goals. Digging a bit deeper into the benefits, we'll have a look at the fact that it allows you to make sure the game actually does what it's supposed to do, that you can discover problems at an early stage and put them right before it becomes really expensive to put them right, and that you can give the client a feel for what it looks like and to obtain feedback from client and end user before you make any costly mistakes. What is a visual representation prototype? The purpose of it is to give a sense of what the end product will look like. It's not going to be perfect, it's not going to be polished, it's not even going to work, but it will give you a sense of what the final product will look like, and in our case, a game. It'll give some idea of the look of the front end design, sometimes even the back end work as well, what's going on under the bonnet. And it can be created in a number of different ways. It could be as simple as a hand-drawn sketch, or it could be something drawn on a whiteboard, or it could be something that has been put together using Photoshop or other software on screen. But fundamentally, it'll show you what the interface looks like, but it won't actually work. What might be contained within it? The colour combinations that are going to be used in the final product, the ones you're planning on using, the graphics and the fonts, and also other components like buttons, call to actions, menus, forms, and other features. Player characters, NPCs, should be included, obviously, if they're part of a game, and some indication of how the game will actually be played. Something that's even playable would be what you're looking for here. Some examples. This is an example of an app which is to teach you English to Spanish, or Spanish to English, and you can see they've got a cardboard cutout of an iPhone there, and you can see they've got they put it over the top of the paper, so you get an indication of what the screen layout will actually look like, the final colour schemes, and it gives you a really good insight into whether at this stage the product that you're planning is actually going to work or not. And you can see on the right hand side there you've got what the same product would look like if you were to purchase the watch version, and over here you've got the phone version. And it's really rather clever, isn't it? Because this is a way of identifying issues at an early stage. Another example here, this is a game, and you can see how the game's different rooms in this case are laid out one on top of each other on a piece of paper. Notice also how the players and the NPCs are here on little squares of paper, and notice how you've got the different rooms here and here and here, all stuck together with black tape. But it does give you a real indication of what the game will look like and how the game will be played. Another example here, different approach. This is Save the Pizza, and what they've done here is try to put everything onto one page to give you a sort of one-page ready reckoner of how the game will actually look and feel. So let's just run through what's here. The game elements up at the top left-hand side there, the way the gameplay will look. They got some screenshots in there. The overview of the world map is on the right hand side, the different game modes from one player through two players and more, example of upgrades that we know could be achievements, and the equipment down here, and just further information about different levels. So that's again a very useful way of putting down on paper exactly what your game should look like and how it's going to feel when you play it. Another example here, this is an adventure game. So there's no end to the ways that you can actually go around doing this, but these are all prototypes. They don't work, but they do give you an appreciation of the final product. So why would you want to make a prototype such as this? First of all, it'll test whether the concept you have is cost efficient. It should reduce the number of problems. Now this is really key, because of course we know that when you're making a game, you're not going to use the waterfall method, you're going to use something that will get you to a prototype really quickly. So maybe the spiral or the agile system that's going to get you making something that's working or non-working, but will give you an idea to move you on to the next step, and it's iteration after iteration, and that's what you're looking for. So the sooner you can get here and have a look at a prototype, the less likelihood you have of carrying disasters and problems into production, which is when things become horribly expensive. Producing a prototype such as this should reduce the overall time that it takes you to actually produce the game. And equally, it should lower the overall cost because it reduces the time that it takes to make the game. One of the advantages of producing prototypes is it allows you to gather feedback from both user and client on how they feel about the game, on whether the concept that you've produced in user requirements is actually the same as the thing that they want. And again, it's about identifying problems nice and early. And of course, going back to the methodology you're going to use, it also allows prototypes to be produced and further prototypes to be produced, and each iteration moving you closer towards the goal. And don't forget, there's this stepwise notion of making sure that you are getting close to the game that you said you were going to make. Can you measure what you're making against the user requirements? And that job you'll be doing at the very tail end of this unit anyway.